Welcome, everybody, to the Near Patients Podcast, and this podcast is brought to you by East Studio 54 in Springdale High School. Noah Wilson, thank you for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
That's cool. That's cool.
Just for the record, I'm his twin brother.
Yes, this is.
So we know each other very well.
Would you like to introduce yourself in a more structured manner?
Well, I'm not very special. You're the special one.
Oh, that's what they tell me, but whatever.
But yeah, I'm Noah. I just go by Noah. And yeah, I'm into everything you're not into.
Really?
So all the bands that you're not into, all of the subjects you're not into.
So like the Strokes?
Yeah. I'm into the Strokes. He hates the Strokes, but he likes Pink Floyd. And
they're okay.
I think Pink Floyd fans are elitist, so...
Well, they are, admittedly.
They're annoying.
Like, they are, especially the Roger Water fans. They're just...
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, no,
I like David Gilmour. I really do.
Yeah, he's really good.
I like all the Pink Floyd albums where Gilmour seemingly takes the lead, or just it's not dripping in Roger Waters' philosophy and stuff.
Roger Waters' whole lyrics, I thought was... It's like some of them, that makes sense. But like the whole final cut, it's just him crying and whining about random things. And I understand.
Exactly.
That's his artistic expression right there. And, I'll support it. But I can't listen to the final cut more than once every decade kind of thing. I just get headaches.
Yeah, I feel that. I haven't even listened to the final cut.
Yeah.
I mean, I like The Wall, but The Wall B-Sides isn't very...
B-Sides?
It's more or less B-Sides. It's, it's along the same lines.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So
Daft Punk broke up.
Yeah, that was sad.
That.
But they haven't released an album in like 8 years. So I guess that's
true. So the thing with Daft Punk is I had no idea who they were. I'm sure from a young age I'd seen the robot like helmets and stuff. But a long time ago I was sleeping over at a friend's house, and I think I was in 3rd grade or something. And on cable they have those channels where you can go and it just plays songs. Right, so there's like a pop hits, and there's like 40 of them. So everything from like reggae, which no one listens to.
I mean, it's not
like,
bad,
but maybe Sting listens to reggae, but nobody else does. Yeah. So if you're trying to figure out what Sting is watching, you just figure out who's watching the Nielsen ratings.
What do they call it? It's like
the one person.
It's like Stingray,
gotta be Sting,
or like
Stingray.
It
changes by like each of the different providers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
To the point, I was up. I couldn't sleep in this guy's house. For some reason, the light refracted off stuff, and it was like really freaky.
How old were you?
I was like 9.
Was that
or something?
There,
this
or
was like 3rd grade, or I think that was when it was. And I was up at like 3 in the morning, and I was afraid of his front door. There was something that was about to come in. And luckily, I had help from Daft Punk. Get Lucky had just come out, so it would play every like half hour or whatever. So I'm sitting there awake, scared out of my mind for about 3 hours, and I get to hear Daft Punk like 6 different times. That was like, and it's a 6-minute song, so it was like 6 minutes of euphoria, followed by 24 minutes of fear.
So what you're saying is that you were up all night to get lucky?
I was up all night to get lucky.
I'm sorry.
I was just trying to make it to the morning, man. Something outside that door was going to come and kill me.
Did you ever have any of like those, spaghetti monsters or whatever under your bed when you were a kid?
What is a spaghetti monster? Is it just a monster?
Like Monsters, Inc., how they hide under the beds or whatever, and then they like grab your toes? Like, did you ever have one of those? That is a good movie. That is.
Is a good movie. Pixar movies are Here's a hot take.
They always have like the hidden philosophies in them, and that's kind of like when you're an adult watching that. Because like recently I watched Disney Soul, and I'm not sure if Pixar. I
haven't watched that.
That is a fantastic movie because it's soul music, but then it goes. I'm not going to spoil it, but it goes into like a weird whole thing of like what makes up the soul.
And
that was really eerie, and I actually cried at the end. I think that's the first time in a long time I've cried at an actual movie. It was good.
The thing with Pixar that's just so great is people try and get certain messages or convey certain ideas. They try and get them across. And depending on the thing, they'll go to different lengths to do that. So the good examples like comedy with teenagers, you turn 13, 14, you kind of feel like you're big enough to start using bad words.
Oh, yeah.
So you start trying to be funny, And unfortunately, since you're just kind of new to the whole bad word thing, you overuse them.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, I did that
Yeah,
for
you did that a
years, and I
lot.
still do it. But I have to I have slowly phasing them out because of just how insane it was. And so with comedy. But the thing, if somebody can be funny without like being dirty or using bad language, if they can legitimately tell something that's human, that's funny, that's really good comedy.
Yeah, there's
And
a lot of
and
there's a few out
Pixar
there.
is kind of like that. And I love that the best movies and the most the movies with the most thematic punch in my lifetime. So that's since '04. It's been rated G movies from Pixar. That's amazing. You don't need a rated R rating, you don't need that to convey these just human emotions and stuff.
Yeah, human emotions is not necessarily complex. I think I forgot where I heard it from, but it was the whole idea with human emotions are complex, and it's in fact that they're so complex that the reason why artists are so successful is that they're able to externalize or internalize these emotions and put it in picture, put it into poetry, put it into whatever art form they're trying to go for, and that's one of those things that I find myself it's kind of a joke, but it's like everybody goes through their edgy music phase or their edgy poetry phase, or when they're I'm not gonna say young because I don't know we are 17 after all, so we're still we're still on the younger side.
We've got a
for
while
sure.
to go.
But more like the 13, 14 range that you kind of go through that phase, depending on who you are, of course, or you could go into something whatever. But you try to put these emotions down onto paper or put it into artwork, and it's a lot more difficult than people normally imagine, and that's the reason why it's in a phase.
I like the idea of an edgy phase.
It's not a bad thing to go through, and it seems like a lot of Gen Z or us Zoomers go through an edgy phase. And I'm curious to see how that edgy phase over time has adapted, because in the 90s and the 80s it was that punk rock, maybe in the 60s it was the rebellion of the Led Zeppelin people. Not 60. Well, that would be late 60s, right? No, am I right on that?
Zeppelin?
Yeah. Would that be right?
Zeppelin when?
When did Zeppelin 1 come out? I always forget.
Zeppelin 1 came out, I think 68. It might have been 69 now.
Yeah, so maybe not the 60s.
Because
but, that
Zeppelin 1 and Zeppelin 2 came out within a year of each other. So I think one was 68, the other was 69.
Yeah. That whole what was that movie? The is it Almost Famous? The one that
Yes.
That is a fantastic movie.
Almost Famous is great.
And one thing that always struck me that I found was hilarious was with I think it was more towards the beginning of the movie where the main character this is stretching back in the memory, by the way, but he goes up to Philip Seymour Hoffman, that whatever player he plays, and he's
and
he's like, music's dead, Cream, what is it, Cream, they broke up, clapped,
Cream
and this,
broke up, man.
Yeah, and it was just
music has moved on and
music
will never be the same.
And then he was criticizing Stillwater and all that jazz. And although Stillwater, definitely not my type of, I would say, late 60s, early 70s music, there's definitely a transition that happened. And it's considering, that was said before Zeppelin. That was said before the Eagles. That was said before Pink Floyd. Or
right,
other,
people
these
always
big
think
bands.
that good music is dying.
Exactly. And that's one of those...
And they're afraid of what's new. I mean, that was the thing with Elvis. I know it was a little different. Social standards were a bit different. So you had, the Forrest Gump thing where he sees it and he's swinging his hips and stuff, and it's 1956 and
hips.
Yes, I was swinging my hips. Right, and it's but yeah, that wasn't okay then, but he made it okay.
Yeah,
it took Elvis Presley to take us out of the dark ages and with dancing and stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's gone too far. So at homecoming here or whatever, people just jump up and down.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
You say, right there, you just kind of...
Exactly.
It's gone too far,
I'm
man.
playing into it.
Yeah, you're playing into it? Okay. I'm like, that's kind of hypocritical, my brother.
Just a wee bit. No, yeah. Well, so Almost Famous, I still think that's a good thing to talk about. The just for people who haven't seen Almost Famous, I mean, I think kids are probably listening to this if anyone's listening to this.
Thanks for the high hopes.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
But Almost Famous, this teenage guy, he's 15 or 16, but he fakes being 18. He's really into music. And he goes on the road with a band, Rolling Stone, which is a magazine. They're not as music focused. they're kind of like Teen Vogue now.
They are
Unfortunately,
kind of like Teen Vogue. That's the sad thing about it.
I don't know. I kind of
used to
think
be like
Rolling Stones regressed a little
They
bit.
used to
but,
be like the
you know,
gold standard of
music. They were the ones that started music.
now it's like
journalism.
Pitchfork, and half the people hate Pitchfork.
No, Pitchfork is fine. I like Pitchfork. They get some things right. They get some things wrong. But that's the beautiful thing about music. I mean, some people like Whole Lotta Red. They gave Whole Lotta Red an 8. I was like, what?
I listened through that once, and I'm not like the biggest of his fans, honestly. But a Whole Lotta Red, it was okay. Like it's a 5.5 out of 10. Like it was just okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Like maybe.
I really liked it, Die Lit, but I'm not gonna. We're talking about Playboi Carti here. In case you don't know who that is, but there's an album called Die Lit, and the thing with Die Lit
Did it drop on Christmas? It was around that time, right?
Whole Lotta Red.
Whole Lotta Red. Did it drop?
Oh yeah, I just
was
finished
like
watching It's a Wonderful Life at like 11.
Oh yeah.
So 12 Eastern, and I went into my room. I was
Okay, so
checking
this
the
guy
computer.
comes in here, and I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm playing. I think I'm playing. Okay, so it's Christmas.
I come in crying. I'm
He
like,
comes
he
in-
dropped it. He dropped it.
And
I
was
sounded like
who?
Mario
Who?
Judah.
I was like, who dropped what? You know.
Oh, Cardi.
I was about to
Cardi
make.
dropped.
I was about to make a spill the beans joke, kind of, because he was like,
Yeah.
I dropped it. It dropped, but then he said it was Playboi Carti, Whole Lotta Red. I'm like, Whole Lotta Red. That's the title of the album, and I didn't.
I
get
think
around
that's a
to listen-
good. I think that's a good title. I mean, that could mean so many different things.
That
But the
could.
reason it's a good title is because he'd been teasing it for 2 years.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So everyone was like, Whole Lotta Red. What is that? WLR. So
Yeah.
just there's an entire Twitter following where it's just like WLR. When's it dropping?
Yeah,
and then
that's
it
true.
came out. It came out in Christmas, but there were people like in May of I don't know, like fall 2019. They're like, bro, Whole Lotta Red's dropping.
Oh my gosh.
That title's been out there
That's
for
like,
so long.
That's like Kendrick Lamar fans. They're like, it's been, what is it, 4 years now? Gosh, it's been 4 years since his last album.
I don't know if I want him to release anything else.
I'm not, well, okay, of course
He's got
I wanna
4
say
albums.
that.
Yeah, okay.
But I
here's the
just want to
thing.
say the Kendrick fans and the J. Cole fans are like, oh, they're going to make one together. Like, that'd be awesome if they they can. But you guys been saying that since 2014.
Yeah.
Forest Hills Drive's dropped. Like, come on. What is that, 7 years now?
Yeah.
That dropped in 2014. Yeah.
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah. No, well, because we were talking about Elvis and stuff, and I mean, hip hop went through that phase where it wasn't acceptable, and
Now it's
but
in
look at the kids
mainstream.
now.
Yeah.
The kids are into it, trying to get their parents. Mom, listen to this.
Mommy,
what
have
is
you ever heard of
this?
Travis Scott?
You know who Travis? Yeah, my mom
Butterfly
had no
effect,
idea. My mom had no idea who Travis Scott was when she drove me to that concert. I still don't know. I was in the. Okay, hold on. A little background here. I saw Travis Scott a couple of years ago. He was in Tulsa, which is a weird place to see concerts, but you know this is
Indeed.
Arkansas. So, he was. So my birthday is February 11th. I don't know if that's like information I shouldn't be sharing.
It probably isn't, but who cares?
As long as it's not my like social security number. So he was gonna be in. He was gonna be in like
But that's
Tulsa.
also my birthday too. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So he was going to be in Tulsa on February 11th, and I wasn't going to go. That was my birthday. It was just a coincidence. And then he canceled because I guess they couldn't get the sets. And after seeing the show, it's very reliant on like set pieces and stuff. There's a legit roller coaster, and then it was a really really cool set, but they couldn't get it set up on February 11th, so they postponed it to the end of March. Me and a couple of other friends went. It was fun, but my mom drove me. Mom was a really, really good team player there. She's like, who is this guy? I've never heard any of these songs. It's just 3 like 8th grade kids in the background, just like, this is gonna be so
It doesn't help that you got your guys' voice in a drop, and you're just like
late. Yeah.
dumb little white kids. We're gonna go see Travis Scott. You are the people that we disdain. Like that was.
Yeah, no,
literally
the internet
people we
hates
disdain.
people like me.
Yeah.
But you know, it was like the ticket was like $30 plus
yeah,
tax.
that's like you
I was
just
like-
go, just go.
And I have excess money because I save my money. That's not like a flex or anything.
Yeah, no, you will literally do anything for somebody to make you like buy.
Yeah,
buy
I don't-
something.
So
There's a reason why mom says thank you for letting me buy you lunch.
exactly. But no, that was a fun show. It was cheap, and I got to see it, and hopefully that same group of friends and maybe some more whenever he goes on tour again. It'd be 4 or 5 years since we saw that.
Well,
And
I'm
we'll-
gonna say it's gonna be like
we won't be
20
in
years
8th
with
grade.
The whole COVID
we won't
thing.
be. Yeah, we won't be in like it'll be 20 years. Yeah, we won't be in 8th grade anymore. We might be in college or senior year or something, just to see how time passes. It'd be cool to see Travis Scott again and rage legitimately this time.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird to see all the concerts and venues open up after this.
Oh man, everyone's gonna be going on a tour. Every single night, there's gonna be I don't know. Every main city's got some sort of arena or whatever, and every single night, man. there's going to be
every single night.
every single night there's going to be a different person playing. And the thing with artists, they haven't. I saw that Bruno Mars, he and Anderson .Paak released a new song, and they were begging the Grammys. They were like, please let us perform. I think they wanted the promotion, but artists, they want to perform. They want to exhibit their work, and for musicians, live music is the way to do it. And the best of them are great at it.
That was the whole thing
too.
with the Tame Impala concert down in Australia.
Man, can we
That
talk
was a
about
good-
that?
I think we
Can we
can.
talk? I don't. We're not doctors here. We are not doctors.
Oh yeah,
But-
by the way, we're not doctors.
We are not doctors.
Like
we
I'm
are
trying
high
to go
school
into
kids.
I'm trying to go into engineering, and I like history. Like doctor is not the way I think.
So Tame Impala, yes, weird people listen to Tame Impala. They're not underground anymore. For your they're not underground.
What was the joke I used?
I found this new underground indie band, and they like play a snippet of the less I know. There's the opening like bass line or whatever, and it's like, whoa, bruh.
It's awesome.
It has 750 million streams on
Like,
Spotify. We've heard
one,
it.
That's one end, and then you can be like, Tame Impala went the mainstream after Lonerism.
Yeah.
You know? Or
I
even
like
worse,
Loners,
they're
but
like,
yeah.
Tame Impala's EP was the best one. Half full
Yeah,
glass
so
of
it's
wine's
just-
amazing.
you're
Like they are
trying
good
to
songs, but
out-nerd.
it's like.
You're trying to out like
Yeah, and
geek
that's
your friends.
And that's like my issue with the Pink Floyd, the whole Pink Floyd people, because people are like, "Ooh, I listen to Uma Guma." It's like Uma
yeah.
Guma.
Well, so
Like I listen to Piper at the Gates of Dawn, but
people
I'm like,
try and get people try
That's
and
some
show
weird
music to their
stuff, though.
friends. People try and show music to their friends and get them into stuff. And being some sort of
music
elite-
aficionado.
a music aficionado or whatever, just if you want a friend to listen to something you think is good, ease them into it. Don't beat them over the head with all the lore and
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
no, that's annoying.
Just slowly work there. Start on the shallow end.
Yeah, that's
and
kind
maybe
of like the
and
whole
maybe
idea.
as they get more confident, whenever the band goes on tour again, they might be like, "Hey, can I go see it with you?" And boom, you got a fun night out just because you started slow.
And that's the whole idea behind like the the different playlists you have or whatever. So when
What playlist?
like the different types of playlists that you have. So you have one. It's like I play this when I'm in my feels.
Me?
No, like not
Oh,
everybody,
everybody.
but
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I
but
get
it's
you.
kind of like the whole idea that you have
People
like different
got
levels.
different playlists.
Yeah, so you have one that it's like if you don't know whoever you're listening to, or I mean whoever's listening, you play one playlist that maybe is like 40% music that you like that's within the past 10 to 15 years, maybe 40% that's classic rock, so that's some of the oldies, no, that a lot of the I would say older populations would like, and on myself that I would like.
Yeah, and
And
then
then-
you've got
and then
that
you have-
playlist of stuff you play in the car that you don't really like, but you listen to it because it's kind of
Exactly.
what everyone else
Yeah,
expects.
and then that like that last 20% or so, that might be some like obscure indie, maybe rap or something that you don't do that. And then you have different levels, and then you'll have like the one person that just listens to like Pink Floyd, and then you like look at the playlist, and half of it's just random instrumentals from the Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which isn't bad, but it's just like
We've been
that's a little
topic
much.
switching. So here in the room, I'm going to do it again. There's an NPR, and shout out to NPR for kind of making podcasts maybe mainstream. They didn't invent them, but they caught on early enough and they popularized them.
Well,
and
they
still are
public
doing
radio, so you'd hope they.
they're still doing great on the charts.
Wait, do they
They're
not-
doing
do
they're
they-
to this day.
Do they not say that we need to like
It's
talk
just
too much?
it's just
We
like,
are topic switching, but
there's
we're
this-
brothers. That's kind
there's-
of what what's
it's like NPR training. Before you start a story, ask yourself these questions. And it's all about staying focused,
What's my
distributing
stories driving
time.
question? Well, that's a different type of podcast. That's the podcast when they're like, "This is undercover murder mysteries on NPR."
And then there's just some
It's
rural
like that's not
town
the
in
type
the
I
south.
listen to. I listen to random hardware news and people just talk. Like that's how sad of a life I have, or whatever.
In May of 1978, 4 people were slaughtered in this home. And you're just like, wow. And there's 8 episodes, like a Netflix show. And then they ask people sitting on their front porch in, rural Mississippi, they're sipping.
Oh yeah, bound. Oh, that was bad. I can't do accents.
Yeah, but they're doing interviews like 40 years after the fact and stuff, and but it's fine.
I remember that night.
Yeah.
Do you remember that night?
So what?
Do you remember that night? 40
don't.
years ago?
I don't. 40 years ago?
Yeah. Now that
Well, yeah,
abandoned
no.
house is now called the
NPR just got a list of things that are outside of the statute of limitations, and they're like, crap, it's never going to be solved in a court of law. Let's go.
Let's wait. Yeah.
Let's solve it.
I think those are cool. I've listened to a few of those. I know this sounds weird, but have you ever heard of another topic switch? But have you ever heard of I think it's the SCP thing?
What is that?
Secure, Contain, Protect. And what that is, it's the whole idea of like there's these not underground, but like secret monsters or secret things that are in this world that there's a government, it would be intergovernmental organization. Wait 1 second. Let me turn that. You good on that?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. So that there's an intergovernmental agency that ends up monitoring the world and making sure that these objects, such as zombie plague, that's like the most basic one, all the way to literally God himself, that they are secure, that they are contained, and that they're protected.
The government does this?
It's like an international body, and they have like different sites. So
What about aliens?
aliens? So yeah, like stuff like aliens.
I'm telling you, man, they know. They know.
The whole thing with aliens, I want to.
You thought Snowden was like groundbreaking. Oh my God, they're spying on us.
Wait until the aliens are spying on us.
You wait until some geek ends up working for the United States government and can, gets the right classification, and he will sell his soul to make sure everybody knows they have proof the aliens exist.
Whoa, they have proof? What's it say?
They have proof.
No. What does it say? Tell me now.
I'm sorry, that's classified.
Oh gosh.
Right.
Do you have Q level clearance? Is that high enough?
Q level clearance.
Okay, we won't go down that
we
road.
won't go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, no. But it's called secure, contain, and protect, and it's kind of like all those little things.
All the crazy stuff.
All the crazy things. So, like, if you ever heard of creepypastas of, like...
Get out of here. I don't want to hear about those.
No, I don't.
The thumbnails, man.
Those thumbnails are so atrocious.
They're so creepy.
But it's kind of like that whole idea of, like, those, creepypastas of the crazy doll that's able to, like, manipulate time and space or whatever. It's like, so that one gets in there. But but then there's also other ones that are like the Plague Doctor, and that was one that I heard about and I thought was interesting. So with this Plague Doctor is that he is in this, a random size humanoid cell. I think that's how they specify it. But what happens is he's always searching to remove this pestilence. And this pestilence is plague, but at the time they didn't know it, and they just called it pestilence. So he has the full-on mask thing with the long nose and the herbs. That's
the bird
yeah, the bird
thing?
mask. Yeah,
those are freaky.
And what happens is that he ends up wanting this pestilence to go away, and that it drives him so insane that he's considered dangerous because of this, and it's because he ends up like not slaughtering. What was it? Putting animals into captivity and trying to find this pestilence, even though it's not there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like these all kind of dystopian, mysterious objects and such, which I find it really
When were
interesting.
creepypastas popular? Was that 2014, 15?
I don't know. I was
young
it was
and back
before
then.
that. I know. What is it like? The Rage comics were also big at that time, and so that would have been like the
I don't
early
even remember
2000s.
those.
I don't remember them that much, but yeah. No, but the creepypastas, I guess they're still around as much, but I guess they're not as prevalent. But I would say that their peak was probably in about 2013, 2014 or so. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, that sounds right. That was when people like that were older than me were all like, bro, showing screwed up stuff to a 10-year-old just to see what they do.
It's like, what are you gonna do? It's like, I'm probably gonna cry.
Yeah, it was freaky. Well,
They are freaky,
The stories
yeah.
were never too bad. It was always some schmuck in Ukraine finding something like deep beneath the earth, somewhere in the mantle, or something.
British,
like
my
that.
guy. That's
Yeah.
British, my
I'm
guy.
about 1,000 miles away wrong.
Yeah, that's better.
But yeah, the thumbnails were.
They
the
were kind of
thumbnails,
fun
man.
to listen to, though. Like, if you listen to those
I
before
was
bed.
never into those.
Well, some
I
of
don't-
them are not bad.
Those weren't my deal.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have the narrator that kind of embellishes it, and you're like, whatever. I'll just go listen to something else.
Yeah.
So so this morning we took the ACT, and how was that? without revealing any of the secrets that ACT
Right.
Inc. Holds dear to their heart until.
Can I do a little rant here?
Make
You've got a little timer thing, so don't make me go
yeah,
overboard.
I'll make sure you won't go too overboard. Remember, no cussing. And-
Yeah, sorry.
And try not to reveal information about the test.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want my test taken away.
Yeah, I
So
thought-
here's the thing with the ACT, okay? So
Yeah.
I took it February. So it's what is it, March? Yeah, it's March. So I took it last month. Got my scores back. It was all jolly and all that, But after I took the test, I was mad. I was ranting to my mom in no kind terms about this. So you sit in there, you pay them $55 to take this test, right? They're limiting scholarships to people, and that's an entirely different can of worms, and I won't even.
That's probably wise because I have opinions on that too.
I don't. It's interesting how people are looking at the effects of testing.
I'm
on
really
people,
I'm
and
really curious to see how
they're seemingly becoming less important, which is
Yeah.
good because I have decent scores, and hopefully I can cash mine in, and then everybody else won't have to deal
But
with
then
it.
there's also excellent examples of like people that they are not the best test takers, but they've done a lot of community service. So they've done a lot of
Yes.
things in community.
Yeah.
they take, all AP classes, they score well on those tests, but when you sit them down to take the ACT or the SAT, they're just like,
That's not their thing.
yeah.
So here's the thing with the ACT. This is what made me mad the last time I took it. So I sit there, and I was trying really hard. I'd planned everything out. With the reading test, you've got 35 minutes, 4 passages, and then you got it timed out. You got 9 minutes per. So I'm staring at my watch. My brain is melting at this point. I'm 2.5 hours into this test, and I'm just trying my best. I'm trying to stay on time and all that kind of thing. And then you get to the end, right? You paid $55 to do this. $55 for a test. They literally are just giving you a test. So by the end of it, you're done. And luckily, test 5 doesn't matter. But they're like, you have to stay for another 20 minutes. You're dead hungry. It's 12:30. You haven't eaten. You probably drank a Bang before you started the test in the first place. So the shakes only stopped after the math test.
Bang.
Right? Yeah. So, and then they're like, here's this survey. You have to stay in there for 20 more minutes. I paid you $55, all right? Most people volunteer for surveys. They certainly don't pay $55 to take a freaking survey.
Yeah, and then they're like, these are questions that might be on future ACT or ACT practices that we want to make sure are balanced. I'm like, you guys pay people to take these surveys anyway. Like, you pay them. We don't pay you for the privilege of that.
I don't want to take your survey.
And I think I can reveal this, but like even on today's, like we didn't have that survey.
Yeah, it was this like the state administered one.
Like, why can't they just
which is great.
Always not be a survey?
Yes. You take the ACT because you have to, because you need to, but I don't want to stay in there a minute longer than I have to. There's so many rules. You can screw up in many different ways, and they'll throw your score out, right, if you do the wrong thing. I just don't want to stay in there. It's a risk.
But also they do have to be strict, because it's not like they're just giving it to one classroom where they can monitor it, but it's nationwide. So it's understandable. It's just it's annoying for the people who actually end up taking it. Mm-hmm. My question now is, how is that actually? Are these like? How do I phrase this? So, in the next 5 years, are the ACT and the SAT scores, the standardized testing scores, going to be as important as they are?
I don't think they are. I think people are moving away from them.
Yeah, the whole COVID thing last year really changed that, it appeared.
Well, yeah, and for college admissions and stuff, they transitioned a little bit, because ACT dates were hard to come by because, they couldn't have as many people in the classrooms and so on. So they were like, it's optional this year. And I still think having a standardized test isn't a bad thing. I don't know. The ACT does a decent job of measuring how you can think under pressure, and you're going to have those situations in college, I think. I haven't been to college, but I think you're going to have to think quickly, think on your feet, and the ACT is, if anything, an okay depiction of that, just raw mental horsepower can kind of detect that. But again, not everybody's good in a test setting. So maybe they'll move away from it, and if they do that, you're going to have less kids with 36s that drool, No, I'm a nerd myself.
Drool,
Yeah, no social skills.
Oh, okay.
I'm cool with introverts, bro. I mean, when I took the personality test, I wasn't as much of an extrovert as I thought.
Yeah, and I ended up being more of an extrovert than I originally thought.
But it's just these kids with 36s, and they just drool and stuff, They're all about studying, but in reality, you need social skills. You need to be able to be collaborative, and I don't know. That's not to say everybody with a 36 can't do stuff. There's a lot of well-rounded people out there. But, it's... I'm happy to see that some of these kids that maybe they've got a good GPA, they're not crazy about the ACT, but they do a lot of good work in their community and stuff. And maybe those kids will get to, go to some of these really nice colleges. And actually, if we change the mold of the people getting accepted into these prestigious institutions, we might get a different class of intellectual down the road. We might get somebody with a different perspective. That's what we need. We don't need everybody thinking the same.
I think that would be a beneficial thing.
Yeah, just a little variety ain't hurt nobody.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope they'll take it easy on the ACT. But again, I have an okay ACT score, and I'm gonna be happy to use it to my advantage. But I don't know if that's a fair thing to ask of everybody.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So,
Is there anything we topic switched from that we want to go back to?
We were talking about music beforehand and the playlist thing. Do you want to talk any more about that, or did we cover that?
Can we run by the Tame Impala deal?
About what Tame Impala deal?
They had a concert.
Oh, yes, that.
So just to clarify, I don't know.
This will probably end up being our last topic.
This is probably going to be the last topic, but yes. It is Tuesday, March 9th, and
it's a good day.
It is, but ever since January, I guess the vaccine sort of started coming out. The U.S.
Sorta,
we've got
like, it
sort of,
has.
yeah, but they're still in kind of the early phases of getting it out to people. I think maybe 10% of the population's is fully vaccinated or whatever.
Yeah, that
So
sounds about
we've
right.
still
It's
got a
kinda
long
low.
ways to go, but it feels nice. There's at least a little bit of hope at the end of the tunnel.
It appears that the cases nationally and even in our state are going down quite a lot. Like not by like a lot, but enough that there's some hope. But the thing is, we can't like keep our tower down. But going with the Tame Impala thing is that there's been single-digit case increases in Australia for months.
Australia does not have a COVID problem at the current moment.
Yes.
And Tame Impala, Kevin Parker, he's from.
Well, I would
he's
think
from
so.
Aust-
Of course, we're not doctors, by the way.
Yeah, again, he and his buddies who do Tame Impala, they are from Australia, and they've done a lot of good work for Australia. People forget. I always happy to see that the concerts are sort of okay to do in Australia. I mean, we've had a crappy last year, but they had the wildfires and then a global pandemic hit.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's bad.
That's some 1-2 punch right there.
Yeah, that, like when
we think things bad here. No,
I can
go to
never
Australia.
think. Is it Jordan? Crap, what's his name? Golden Globes. That monologue.
Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais. What was it? His final. That was a funny monologue.
That was the greatest. That was the greatest award show monologue of all time. Of course, it's
yes.
about the most controversial, but
about
still.
the most controversial, but that was hilarious. But
He
not
was
to-
like,
but-
donate. He was
yeah,
telling
donate
people,
to Australia.
He was
Yeah,
like,
Australia.
spare us your political speech and donate to the people in Australia going through the
I'm like, that's
wildfires."
perfect. Like, that's what we need.
I kind of agree with him, but so Tame Impala, they've
the
been doing all right.
donation spirit's good.
Yeah, they've been doing good on the COVID front, and it's going down. So Tame Impala, they had a show, I think in Perth. So there were a couple thousand people. It was in a smaller place. So like in the United States, we have stadium concerts. Those are like in NFL stadiums or baseball stadiums, hold a bunch of people, big space. And then arenas, which is most tours people see are in arenas. And then there's theaters below that. So those kind of places hold on average 2,000 to 4,000, maybe a little bit more after that. And so they kind of had it was somewhere in between a club and a theater. So probably 2,000 people at this concert. And they did 2 nights. And I was happy to see that they're doing live music. I also saw the set list. And any Tame Impala fan, if you see that set list, just look up setlist.fm. You can find any set list. Somebody played at any concert. It's great.
It was a good set list.
It was an amazing set list. It wasn't, because whenever somebody's albums come out, you want to promote the album. So you'll probably, most of the stuff you'll play, you'll have some greatest hits, if you will, some stuff.
Of course,
some hits from before.
Actually get the
like.
people in.
But you're promoting an album. So you're going to play 6 or 7 songs off the new one.
Well, that actually...
And it was a great combo of stuff from the past and stuff that doesn't really end up in those set lists right after albums come out.
Kind of one thing, to connect to, the whole ACT topic, I'm not sure when this was. This might have been either the PSAT or the ACT from years ago. I don't know. It was one of the first ones we ever took. And I don't want to give out a year because I think it's been...
You'll get sued.
Yeah, we don't... Yeah.
Revealing test information.
I mean, it's now public if I'm not mistaken, that test.
They do release them sometimes.
Yeah, they release them sometimes. But that's besides the point. One of the passages for, I think it was either the reading section, it talked about the changing times of the music industry, and that was probably the most fascinating actual passage that we got.
Those tests are always interesting.
Yeah, there's always like one little
there's one or
thing,
two that's
like,
always
oh,
interesting.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
you kind of want to take it easy, but you're like on a time limit, so you really can't sit and ponder on how interesting.
But one of them was the changing business structure of the music industry, and how it used to be that you did concerts to promote an album, but now since there's streaming services, and even though you make a decent amount just because how they're structured, it ends up being more profitable for you to use your streaming services as the thing that drives the popularity of your new album or your new song. And then the actual albums is where you make the money from. And that's the reason why concerts is where you make the money from. And that's one of the reasons why concerts have gone up so much in the past few years, because it used to be that that comedians, that musicians, they would make a lot of their money by...
You go on tour to support the thing you just released.
Yeah, like...
That was always the point of tours and concerts.
And it's still the same today, but what is it? The music promotes the tour. The tour is supposed to be the experience. That's why the
experience. I love that.
Yeah, like at the Taylor Swift concert in Kansas City, that was not cinematography.
I love Tay-Tay.
She's pretty
hate
good.
Her fans. And I'm a fan myself, but the communitive group of Taylor Swift fans, they take it too far.
The whole dress alikes were kind of odd. I was not expecting that. But
that was insane.
The funniest thing about that whole concert was, when you need to go use the restroom as a dude, you go up obviously outside of the seats and all that jazz, and you go to the place and you look at both of the women's and the men's, and you can't find the men's. But you can find the women's because there's this line out the door.
Yeah, there were a lot more women.
But you can't find the men's. But then you finally find the men's. There's no line. There's like 2 guys in there, and it's just, you can obviously tell that they got dragged there. And I'm like, hey, she makes good music.
The boyfriend's
and I don't have
getting
to wait
dragged
anything.
to the Taylor Swift. I want
didn't
to be
have
that boyfriend.
That was probably the best.
One of these days.
That was probably one of the most. I'm not sure. That was probably one of the things that impacted me most about that entire concert, was the entirety of
The
walking
divide.
the divide, and walking into the bathroom. There'd be like one guy doing his business, and then you would just like
I'm happy this is what you remember from that 2.5-hour show.
Yeah, well, no,
the bathrooms were very intriguing. Not to mention the Taylor Swift show, the ticket that
Taylor
cost
Swift
$250.
that was a
You
good
remember
show.
the bathrooms?
The whole dance, but not. Like I was trying to say, not the cinematography, but the whole
The choreography.
Choreography,
The
thank you,
dancing
that's
and
the
all that
word.
jazz.
That was amazing, and that was the whole experience with it. And
I'm not
that
one
and
who
the
cares
demand.
for choreography very much.
But it was
having
impressive.
a little bit.
You have to admit that.
The thing that made it such a good show is Taylor Swift. She's really talented. She can
Yeah.
put on a good show. So you get the choreography, and while I'm not the hugest fan of the choreography, anything in moderation is fine. But she'd do a set of songs with choreography or whatever, and then she'd move to the piano. She'd do the acoustic guitar. Sometimes she'd slow it down. It was just this really, really great, different. The mood changed a lot, and that just kind of kept you in the show. And we weren't even on the floor. I had a friend that like touched her hand. And luckily it was a girl, so it's not like weird or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't weird.
But I got back and I was telling people, oh yeah, I saw Taylor Swift, which is not something an eighth grade boy should be telling people. But I'm confident like that. I'll mention that.
Yeah.
And someone was like, oh my God, I touched her hand. I was like, no, BS. There's no way you did that.
And
And
then
she
they showed
like
the
shows
video-
me the picture.
The video or the photo.
She's like, I was just like, I'm so jealous of you. But no,
that
it
was
was fun.
that was pretty cool.
It was a really fun show.
Well, I think we'll have to end it. Noah, I just want to thank you for coming on. You're a beautiful person, although you annoy me at times.
It was pretty beautiful yourself. Thanks for
Thanks.
having me on.
Hey, I'm happy to have you on.
Hopefully we can do this again.
This was a really, I'm not sure enlightening is the best way, but this was a very intriguing conversation.
We have these
We
conversations.
do, but it's not like this wasn't structured by any means, but it's normally
This was the
discoherent.
sanitized version at that.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Sanitize is one way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally we would put a little bit of extra taste on it.
We kind of tried we did better keeping the conversation focused this time. So this is
Yes.
kind of a glimpse into what us twins talk about when we're just in the car or whatever.
And this is just a public service announcement before we go. The whole thing with twins is that there's 2 types. There's identical and fraternal. So
Please explain this.
yes. So identical means that you look the same. Fraternal means the other way. That means that you don't look the same. So when you see 2 twins that don't look alike whatsoever, don't ask, are you identical? Because if they were identical, you would know it. And I'm not trying to be like, condescending or anything like that, but that's one of the funniest things.
You'd
is
think
that
I feel like people would know
it
this.
be that way, but
They're like, oh my God, are you identical? And we're like standing next to each other. I'm like, do we look the same? One of us is blonde. Back in the day, one was a bit chubbier, myself.
Yeah.
So here's this lanky white kid.
and this little
And here's
chubby
this
brown-headed boy.
chubby brown-headed with this just luscious tan.
Yeah,
so that's
really.
me, and we're standing. Do we look the
Okay,
same to you?
Yeah, I always felt
So
bad
yeah, no,
saying
we're
that, but-
fraternal. We're
Yes,
fraternal.
we are fraternal.
As in not the same.
Yeah. What is fraternal? Such an odd word though.
I like it. It's kind of
Like it's not even related to like.
I think you could use that. It's
so
a
do you
little
know-
bit of a
do you know how you have-
sophisticated word.
Do you know how you have different sides, like homicide, omnicide,
Oh,
and
the
then
suffixes and stuff.
yeah,
They all modify
and then
each other.
fractricide means to kill one's brother. But fraternal and fract does not make any sense. I'm not sure where fraternal came from. That is like one of those weird words in the English language that it didn't come from Greek. It didn't come. I don't think it came from German. It didn't come from French or
a
Latin.
resident
It's just
language
there.
expert here.
I'm not a language expert. It's just sometimes you just think
Words
about
are
things
interesting.
And you're
I
like,
love
that
words.
makes no sense.
I'm obsessed with words.
Yeah, and you use a lot of them.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I'm obsessed with them. I love them to death, and that's what makes podcasts possible.
Yes, that is the case. But like I said, thank you, Noah, for coming on. Everybody,
having me.
thank you for listening to the podcast. And I would like to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by East Studio 54 and Springdale High School. If you have any comments, leave it in the comment section or something below. I'm not sure what this description will look like, and I probably should edit this out, but I probably won't. So that being said, everybody, have a great day.
Mm-hmm.